Hey the internet, this is Lock. Believe it or not, I spend more time reading about video games than I do talking and writing about them. It's a condition, but please, I don't need your pity, just remember me when you go outside. I like to believe that despite our rapidly changing world, people can be relied upon to be people, no matter where we live or when, whether we're glued to the screen of a smartphone or painting on a cave wall. We all get crushes on people that we shouldn't. We think of the perfect comeback on our way home. A crying baby is annoying on a plane or in a horse-drawn carriage. While we may use them for different things, our brains haven't changed for a very long time. So it was with some mild annoyance that I found out from reading about games, as I do. In some circumstances, players today, on average, are less skilled than players of 20 years ago. Now, fair enough, this conclusion was based on data from a very casual mobile game, so there's various factors in play. It's not going to have a one-for-one map to a PC gamer, for example, but it did get me thinking. And one thing that certainly is consistent is that in a medium where getting punters in through the door is priority one, difficulty gets turned down to levels that are instantly tedious for veteran players. And of course, I'm including MMOs in this. If you wanna read the articles from Gamasutra, I'll put it in the description below. MMOs really have never been difficult to play. Certainly in terms of mechanical skill. Now I see I see that look you're giving me. Don't look at me like that. You know it's true. I mean, maybe if you're chasing a world first in World of Warcraft, there's immense pressure to perform and execute flawlessly. But I think the mere fact that is an achievable goal shows the gulf between MMOs in a game like Counter-Strike, for example, which is incredibly skill-based. And even if you disagree with that assessment, you still have to account for the 99% of MMO players who aren't in the race for world or even server first. I'm not saying that MMOs have somehow collectively failed to achieve something. This is absolutely working as intended. It's evidence of success when I can comfortably steamroll leveling content while watching Twitch on my second monitor. The truth is that in the same way the casual mobile market does, MMOs will significantly lower the requirements for participation for the benefit of the vast majority of potential players. Some people like to believe that everyone is in these games with the intention of keeping up with progression, maybe not being in that top 1%, but keeping up with the content release cycle, obsessively min-maxing their character, trawling the internet and Reddit for every scrap of info they can get on the game. We all go to MMORPGcom, we all do it, but we know it isn't the case that everyone's doing that, as much as some people would like it to be the case. But tuning is, of course, a double-edged sword, and it's possible to get the balance wrong in either direction, in both directions. Case in point, a game called Neverwinter has had a bit of a snafu. Now, I never played a massive amount of Neverwinter. I remember it being fun in an arcadey way, but unremarkable, and I just sort of forgot about it. It was one of those games you pick up and play for a bit and you go, oh, that's alright, and then you move on. Something else interesting, something shiny distracts you and you move on. And since then I've not seen it around much until very recently, and unfortunately it wasn't in the best of circumstances. Some changes have been made to the game, new patch, new update, and they have not been well received. The early game experience has been massively streamlined, lowering the level of challenge, such as it was, and even reducing the number of participants required for leveling group content, and removing some leveling content completely. Now, I imagine the idea behind these changes was to fast-track players to the new content that exists at max level, streamlining the experience for what is now a mature player base. Getting the players lined up and in step, I think, is a smart move, but not when it comes at the cost of enjoying the game at all. Once players got to the new endgame content as well, the grind just bit harder than it ever had, which is another symptom of lower difficulty when it comes down to it. Now, after taking feedback, Cryptic have apologised and said they'll be taking another pass at it. Everyone slips up from time to time. Game dev is extremely hard, and MMO development is its 1% rating. And it's great that they're acknowledging the issues raised, and I hope the game makes it out the other side as unscathed as it can. And I think in the grand schemes, while our skills may change, our reactions and feelings remain. There's so many things that we're better at and we're more comfortable with now than we were 20 years ago. Things we take for granted today. You know, some of these things were science fiction within the same lifetime. And I suppose the point that I'm dancing around, we're getting close to rambling. We're not going to do it. We're going to stay on point. Is that we still crave that sense of learning from challenging ourselves that came parceled up with our Homo sapien brain. It's the reason we play games at all. But that doesn't mean that the things that will provide a satisfying challenge will always be the same. In fact, the opposite. It means those things will always change as the world around us changes. And someday, these things become outdated and irrelevant to our experiences. And it makes me wonder, are we getting to the point where one generation, if you like, has collectively figured out the traditional MMO and left behind no useful entry point for new players? Is that where we are? Remember that bit in Back to the Future 2 when the kid says about the game, says about the arcade game, you have to use your hands, and he says it's like a baby's toy? That's 2015. Back to the Future, that's 2015. That's historically accurate. The cycle continues. Let me know what you think. Does difficulty have a place in MMOs at all anymore? Is there a way to implement difficulty in a way that still allows the maximum amount of people to be able to access the game? What do you think the new standards of difficulty are going to be in the next 10 years or so as the Minecraft generation grows up and becomes the dominant market force for the industry? Hit like if you think it's a discussion worth having, if you got anything out of this video, and subscribe for many and varied things from lots of wonderful people, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye!